The moment the video started spreading online, the Spanish palace didn't react like this was a harmless viral clip. That's what shocked me, because usually, royal households stay silent. They wait for stories to die naturally. They let the media cycle move on. But this time, the response felt urgent, almost nervous. And honestly, when I watched the footage myself, I immediately understood why. Not because Princess Leonor did something scandalous. She didn't. That's actually the point. The video looked too human. Too normal. Too real. And in 2026, that might be more dangerous for a future queen than an actual scandal. Because here's what nobody tells you about modern royalty anymore. The palace doesn't fear hate nearly as much as it fears loss of control. And this video, it completely escaped palace control. Now the clip itself wasn't dramatic in the Hollywood sense. No screaming, no collapse, no royal disaster. It was subtle. A few seconds here, a gesture there, a look that people online started replaying frame by frame like it was the Zapruder film of modern monarchy. And once TikTok got hold of it, game over. Because social media no longer watches royals the way traditional media used to. People aren't just observing anymore, they're decoding, analyzing, zooming in, building theories in real time. One tiny expression from Leonor suddenly became 20 different narratives. She looks exhausted, she's frustrated, she's trapped, she's rebelling, and the craziest part, none of those interpretations even needed to be true to become dangerous. That's the new royal battlefield. Perception moves faster than facts. If you're new to Leonor's story, subscribe, I post every day. Because honestly, what's happening around Princess Leonor right now might be one of the most important royal media experiments happening anywhere in Europe. And I really mean that. While Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales still operate inside the old British royal structure, polished appearances, carefully staged events, controlled press access, Spain is trying something much riskier with Leonor. They're trying to make monarchy feel modern without letting it become casual. That balance is almost impossible now. And I think this, emergency warning, situation exposed the palace's biggest fear. People are starting to see Leonor as a real young woman before they see her as a future queen. Now before some viewers misunderstand me, that sounds positive at first. Human connection builds popularity. Relatability creates loyalty. Even Mr. Beast understands that authenticity beats perfection online. But monarchies are different. Royal institutions survive through distance. The second a royal becomes too relatable, the illusion starts weakening. And I know that sounds harsh, but look at history. The most stable monarchies always controlled access carefully. Mystery created authority. Ritual created importance. But Gen Z doesn't trust mystery anymore. Gen Z trusts what feels unfiltered. That's why this Leonor moment matters way more than people think. Because the palace probably realized something terrifying watching that clip explode online. They can no longer fully manage how Leonor is emotionally interpreted by the public. And once that happens, every public appearance becomes unpredictable. Now here's where my own opinion comes in, because I think the media is missing the deeper story completely. Everybody keeps asking, what was in the video? What did Leonor mean? Why did the palace react? Wrong questions. The real question is, why did the palace react so fast this time? That's what interests me, because urgency reveals fear, and I personally think Spain's royal institution is terrified of repeating the mistakes that nearly damaged the monarchy. Years ago under previous scandals involving the wider royal family. The current reign of King Felipe VI has been built around discipline, professionalism, and image repair. Felipe understands something very clearly: the Spanish monarchy cannot survive another major public trust collapse. So Leonor isn't just a daughter to the institution anymore. She's the future survival plan. That's enormous pressure for someone her age. And honestly, sometimes I wonder whether people online fully realize how psychologically exhausting that must be. Imagine every facial expression becoming international analysis. Imagine walking into a military event, school function, or ceremony knowing millions of people will slow down your reactions frame by frame searching for hidden meaning. That's not normal life. That's surveillance disguised as celebrity. And I think the palace knows Leonor is reaching a dangerous stage now, the stage where public fascination starts becoming emotional ownership. People no longer just want to admire her. They want to figure her out. That's much harder to control. Look at what happened globally with figures like Meghan Markle or even Princess Diana years ago. The more emotionally invested the public becomes, the more every tiny gesture turns symbolic. And symbolism can destroy institutions faster than facts. That's why I think the palace issued the warning so aggressively. Not because the video was catastrophic, but because they saw the trajectory. Once the internet begins constructing its own version of Leonor separate from the official palace image, the monarchy loses monopoly over her narrative forever. And honestly, I think that moment may already be happening. You can feel it online. There's now official Leonor and internet Leonor. Those are becoming two different people. Official Leonor is disciplined, military trained, elegant, future queen material. Internet Leonor is relatable, emotionally analyzed, meme-able, watched like a Netflix protagonist. That split is incredibly dangerous for a royal institution, because eventually one version overtakes the other. Now let me say something controversial. I actually think Leonor's growing popularity may secretly scare parts of the establishment more than low popularity would. Because popularity creates independence, and independent public affection can become powerful. Too powerful, especially if younger audiences begin connecting to Leonor emotionally instead of institutionally. At that point, the monarchy stops owning the brand completely. The person becomes bigger than the structure. That's exactly what happened with Princess Diana. And I think every modern royal palace studies that history obsessively now. That's why Spain's approach around Leonor feels so carefully engineered lately. The military training, the controlled appearances, the disciplined imagery. It's not just preparation for queenship. It's narrative architecture. The palace is building an image strong enough to survive internet culture. But here's the irony nobody talks about. The more controlled the image becomes, the more viral authentic moments become when they accidentally slip through. That's why this video exploded. It felt unscripted, and audiences are starving for unscripted moments from royals now. Honestly, the entire royal world is struggling with this in 2026. British royals, Spanish royals, Scandinavian royals, they're all trying to solve the same impossible equation. How do you stay relevant in the social media era without becoming ordinary? That's the crisis, and Leonor might actually be the clearest example of it right now. Because unlike older royals, she belongs to the digital native generation. She understands cameras differently, public attention differently, online culture differently. You can even see it in her body language sometimes. There's this strange awareness modern young royals have, almost like they know every second could become a headline. That creates a completely different kind of monarchy than what existed 20 years ago. And personally, I think that's why younger audiences are fascinated by Leonor. She feels caught between two worlds. Part future queen, part young woman trying not to disappear inside the role. That tension is compelling to watch. And honestly, I think the palace sees that too. Which brings me back to the emergency warning. The wording mattered, the speed mattered, the intensity mattered, because institutions reveal themselves most clearly when they panic. And for a brief moment, the Spanish palace seemed less worried about correcting misinformation, and more worried about stopping emotional momentum. That's different, very different. It tells me they understand something important is changing around Leonor's public image. Not collapsing, evolving, and evolution is unpredictable. Now maybe this story disappears in a week. Maybe another royal headline replaces it tomorrow. But I don't think the palace will forget this moment anytime soon. Because I think this was one of the first times they truly saw what the next decade of monarchy looks like. Not controlled by newspapers, not controlled by television, controlled by viral interpretation, controlled by algorithms, controlled by emotion, and whether royal institutions are ready for that or not, it's already happening. Which means the real danger of this Princess Leonor video may have had nothing to do with the footage itself. The real danger was what the internet decided the footage meant.